When I went to medical school, many years ago, my teachers were explicit. I was to be a doctor who would treat diseases of the body, and God, Jesus, and other things who live in heaven have nothing to do with the body that we are treating. And my instruction from Antonia Bagshaw, who was my teacher and who sometimes worked in this Aga Khan hospital, was very, very explicit. Leave God out of the clinical room and let him stay there. Fast forward to today, the body that governs us as mental health workers, the World Psychiatric Association, in the year 2016, issued very comprehensive guidelines on the management of our affairs. And the World Psychiatric Association has told us the following, and I'll be very quick. I will not go into everything we have been told. We as mental health practitioners have been told that in whatever else we do, we must take account of our patient's belief system. So if a patient comes to me and says that I am feeling depressed because I have sinned against the law of Moses, I must accept that as his belief system, and I must work within that belief system. It is not for me to tell them that no, your body is short of serotonin, or because dopamine is not, that's not what it is. I am instructed to work within that system. I am further instructed to do my best to try and understand religion and spirituality in relation to the diagnosis that I make. It cannot be the case that I only go to the diagnostic and statistical manual that defines the different mental health conditions, and I do not understand the spiritual dynamic as I work within that situation. Thirdly, the World Psychiatric Association instructs me, Frank Njenga, to respect the religious and spiritual stance of my patient. I cannot dismiss my patient's fears about the sins, and I will use this word correctly. He has committed the sin, yes? I must accept that as his understanding as to why he is hearing voices. You are here today, and this is the answer to your question. I may not like you, but I do. But the World Psychiatric Association in 2016 instructed me to be ready to work with communities, including chaplains, pastoral workers, and all religious. So it's not, I don't have a choice about, when I graduated, I was instructed not to work with you because you're boring and without knowledge. Now the instruction has changed with increasing information. When I examine students, I am required to examine them to see if they have a demonstrated awareness, respect, and sensitivity about the religious and spiritual positions of our patients. I will not pass you as your teacher if you are not demonstrating that you understand and you respect the centrality of spirituality. And the final instruction I have received from the body that governs the way I practice is that I must, not a request, I must share this information with you. I have no option. So when you see us here, whether we like it or not, if we are going to practice as instructed by our governing body, we must share this information with you in the broader community. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Tupende, tusipende, we must work with yourselves. The second thing I wanted to say, and I'll be very quick for no obvious reason, Lynette has given us numbers. 720,000 people die by suicide every year. How many people die in war? In Ukraine, in Congo, in Sudan, in Israel? About 200,000 people every year. Actually, last year was a particularly dangerous year. About 230 died. Now imagine how much energy we as a world expend in preventing war. A human life is equal to another human life. And I'm not saying that we should have war, no. But I am saying that for some reason, in part because of stigma, we understate the significance in terms of lives taken by suicide compared to other things like wars. If we spend a tiny amount of energy and effort of the one that we spend preventing wars, then this room would be better expended. In the same vein, and this is the point that I want to make here, in 2019, our government recognized the importance of this problem. And the then President, Uhuru Kenyatta, stood in Narok and declared that we have a problem regarding mental health. And what he said was clear. It was very clear. By the grace of God, he found me and asked me to chair a task force, which, very interesting, consisted of this one, this one, this one, this one. These people you see talking to you here today are the true authors of what I am talking to you about. And it's actually very, very interesting what happened in that situation. I want you to go to page 8.
By youth initiative. Thank you so much.
I'm like a preacher. I feel like a preacher today. Yes? And when you get to page 8, this is a summary of the recommendations. All right? And when you look at these recommendations, I'd like you to pay attention to recommendation number 10, which is why we are here. We are here because under number 10, we are required by our own report, and that's why this Dr. Ongeri has created, she's responding to her own recommendation that she must work with religious leaders, among others, to develop a curriculum. So this is not something that Lukoya Tuoli and Mutiso and Mercy Karanja dreamt in the night. This is work they gave unto themselves, arising from what engagement we have had with you, courtesy of the government of Kenya. When you go further down in the same report and you get to page 13, you will come across where there was the Hindu community, there was a Muslim community, there were Christians. I was there. Were you with us, Lynette? And you yourselves on page 13 pleaded with us, please work with us. All right? So this is not something, again, that was dreamt in science laboratories by these scientists. This is something that you yourselves asked of us. You can see. Faith-based organizations, that is Christians, Muslims, and Hindu communities, asked experts to urgently. So this is not our dream. This is what you have been telling us, and it is in print, and this is a government document. Further, and you must stop me because I'm really enjoying this. Further, when you go to page 16, this is not something that was done behind the tent. As Kenyans, I want to say, it is Kenyans who suggested, Kenyans themselves. And I can tell you, when you read this report, that this is something that we went to many different counties. We had thousands of people that we engaged. We had a submission of memoranda from Kenyans all over. We had sittings in most of the counties anyway. And Kenyans were telling us that we need to promote mental health in schools, within our families, and most importantly, we need to work with families. Now, who works closer with families than yourselves? How often does the local policeman come and say, wewe mama, naomba tafadhali umwangalie huyu. Does the DC do that? Does the chief do that? But you, ladies and gentlemen, religious and spiritual leaders, it is your job to come to us as families. That is what you exist for. Kenyans told us to tell you that you must become familiar with mental health issues so that the unit of the family where it is that you work may prosper. And this is not my dream. This is a report that I was told to work on. Tuendelee. Church is a great place. We now move to the book of, not the book, to page 31. I hope this is making sense. Yeah, this is you. This is not Atuole. This is not Njenga. This is not Mercy. This is not Lynette. Page 31, there was concerns that you have about and around somebody called the boy child. Do you know him? You see, a big story about this boy child. These are the concerns of Kenyans. They were telling us that we must work with you religious organizations because the pendulum has swung, and now the most vulnerable person in our society, and Dr. Ngeri has showed you, the person who is dying by suicide more than anybody else is the boy child aged from 15 to 35. So again, they didn't tell us to work with the army or with the chiefs. They told us to work with yourselves. I could go on. Page 51 tells us about you, the religious leaders. It continues to instruct us on page 54. Kenyans also highlighted the importance of spirituality in mental health. They know it. But on page 60, they say something really interesting. Rather, this team said something really interesting. They said there are some people who commit bad things and must be taxed. The task force recommended something they called a sin tax. And they said sinners, like BAT and breweries, should be taxed because of the contribution they make to the severity of mental illnesses. gentlemen, ladies, brothers and sisters, this is not something that is being dreamt by scientists in laboratories at Aga Khan or wherever it is. And I'd like to say this. I would like to persuade you that unlike the earlier days when we viewed each other with suspicion, because you religious leaders were stealing our patients and confusing them with the word of God. And you thought, or rather seemed to behave as though these scientists are ungodly and they are heathen and they are sinners, all of them without exception. Over time, it has become clear that together we are stronger, and our congregations and our patients happen to be the same person. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit.